Hello, beautiful soul. So, my husband and I, we spent the last 2 weeks in Guatemala, and I figured that I would try to make this video for anyone who's planning to go to Guatemala, thinking about it, um, to kind of give you from our perspective, um, beginning to end, how we prepared for this trip, what the experience was like, what the culture is like, what the food is like the whole nine, but most of all, how to make the most of this experience. So I was in Guatemala for work. That was the reason I was going there. I was working on a project there, and I figured that while we're there, we might as well make this like a workation. So I know a lot of people are like, I don't like AI. AI is gonna like take over the world or whatever. I'm not one of those people. I am very big on evolution. And understanding that things evolve, and either you're going to get with the program or you're not. But if you don't, you're just going to get left behind. That's a different story for a different day. But as it relates to AI in this video, I once I found out that I was going to Guatemala, I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Listen, I'm going to Guatemala for 2 weeks. My husband and I, we are outdoors people. We like traveling, we like fishing, we like kayaking, we like culture, we like good food, um, and we don't like to travel like tourists. We want to experience the local culture for what it is. I want you to give me an itinerary that would allow me to see the country from different perspective in 2 weeks, but I want to be able to do things that I like and that my husband like. Um, my husband is also a musician, and so he wants to experience the local music culture. I am a business development consultant. I want to kind of get a feel for what the business is like down there. Um, but most of all, we want to have fun. Like, so I kind of just went through like a little profile of who we are and what we like to do and whatnot. ChatGPT spit out to me a 2 week itinerary that looked like this. You start in Guatemala City, then you go to Antigua, you leave Antigua, go to Rio Dulce, leave Rio Dulce, go to Livingston, and then we were supposed to go to Lake Aten, and then back to Guatemala City. When we got to Livingston, our hotel was a bungalow on the beach. I'm like, I'm not leaving this to go back to a lake. I'm not saying Lake Athens isn't beautiful, but I just was like, I'm a beach person. My husband is a beach person. Like, we love the ocean. So we're like, yeah, whatever work has to be done is going to be done from this bungalow on the beach. And what made it worse was our bungalow had, on the first floor was the bungalow, and then it was a second floor that overlooked the ocean, and then they put a hammock on that second floor. So on the second floor, you basically have like, it's like a roof, like think of like a rooftop pool, except it's covered, um and it's a hammock there, right? But there was no pool, and you're like overlooking the ocean, so the hammock replaced the pool. Like, that was the situation. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna stay right here and do whatever work needs to be done from this hammock. And literally I was doing like work from the hammock. Anyway, that's a different story. um so that was kind of our 2 week itinerary. As far as preparing for this trip, I'm gonna tell you the truth. um there's no video that I took, no photo that I took that really articulates the beauty of Guatemala, that really articulate the experience of being there. None. I tried my best to take so many photos and so many videos, and none of them. Like, the best photo that I have is the memory in my mind of what that place looked like, what the people was like, what the food tastes like, what the experience, what the air smelled like. Like, for me, that's a better photo than any of the photos I took or any of the videos. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, nothing I'm going to say in this video is fully going to articulate the experience you're going to have when you get there. But my hope is to try to help you as you're planning and preparing to make the most of your experience when you do get there. So let's start out with passports. So tell me why I did not know, um, that your passport is supposed to be, more than 6 months from expiration when you are traveling internationally. I figured like, oh, I looked at my passport and I'm like, oh, it doesn't expire until April. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. Well, I get to the airport. Well, I try to check in the day before, and it's like, you can't check in. You need to go to check in person because your passport is less than 6 months from expiration. And I'm like, well, it's not expired, so what's the problem? So I get to the airport and they're like, well, some countries will not allow you to enter if your passport is less than 6 months from expiration. And now that I think about it, that makes sense because some people like live part time in one country and live part time in another country. So they probably don't want you to go to their country and then your passport, you're there for like 6 months and then your passport expires and you can't leave. So now that I'm thinking about it, it actually makes sense, but I didn't know. Thankfully, Guatemala is not one of those countries. So we were able to check in and get on the flight and whatnot, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this video. But in for anyone planning to go to Guatemala or planning to travel internationally, just a little tip: make sure that your passport is more than 6 months from expiration. If not, it's probably a good time to go get it renewed, right? So that's that. As far as scenery, so well, before I go there, let's go with bags. So the first time we traveled internationally, um, your girl did not know how to pack. Tell me why we were going to Costa Rica for a week, and I went with two suitcases. Both of them were overweight. One for me, one for my husband, and both of them were overweight. We got to the airport and had to pay like an extra hundred and something dollars in baggage fees. And tell me why we got to Costa Rica and most of the crap in that suitcase I didn't even wear. I didn't wear. And I'm like, well, this was a waste of money and a waste of time lugging all this crap around. So my husband, the next time we went to travel, he's like, listen, you're gonna have to learn how to backpack. So he went to go get me a backpack. He's like, you're gonna if it doesn't fit in his backpack, it doesn't go with us. And I'm like, my clothes, all of my stuff is not gonna fit in there. He's like, well, then it's not going. Long story short, I have since figured out and learned how to travel. So we went with two backpacks to Guatemala, and I'm talking about we were there for 2 weeks. So we had to have clothes for 2 weeks, underclothes for 2 weeks, personal hygiene items. My husband is a musician, and he goes nowhere without his musical instrument. So his trumpet has to go with him wherever he goes, meaning that we have to figure out how to fit a full size trumpet in his backpack along with his clothes. So somewhere either on the right or the left of me, I'm gonna try to include a photo of my husband's backpack. His backpack has the depth of a suitcase, the way that it's built out, but it's a backpack. So we were able to get all of his clothes and his trumpet in his bag with no problem. Plus, we had to have shoes for 2 weeks. And so the way that we did this was the first of all, as far as clothes go, you learn to minimalize. So we don't travel with a lot of jeans. More, we try to go more softer things that's easier to fold. So for me, it looks like a lot of shorts, a lot of yoga pants, a lot of sweatpants. For my husband, is the same shorts. And like, what are they called? Um, I forgot the correct terminology, but they're not jeans, but they're like the softer material, but they're long pants. I can't think of the name of it right now. Um, and so essentially what I'm saying is if you're gonna be backpacking, you want to get clothes that's easy to fold and are not very bulky. Um, as keep in mind though, Guatemala, depending on what part of Guatemala you go to, like for example, Guatemala City, um, Antigua, they get cold. Like that place gets cold because especially Antigua, you're up in the mountains, so it get cold. Whereas Livingston is literally an island, so it's more Caribbean where it's hot and rain is what you deal with. But in Antigua, it actually gets cold, so you need a jacket. Um, so you are gonna need a jacket, right? Um, so all of that you have to keep in mind when you're packing. You don't have to do the backpack model. For us, it works, and it works so well that especially if you're going and you're going from city to city, it makes it easier to travel because, for example, going to Livingston, you can only get to Livingston by boat. So imagine trying to get a suitcase, and the boats aren't like yacht boats or like big boats. They're mini speedboats. So you have to be able to get your suitcase and stuff like that on and off. And it just makes it easier to travel if you're going to be hopping around different cities. If you have a backpack, than if you're having to lug around a big suitcase. So for in the end, it worked out for us. It was easier to travel. It was easier to move around, and we didn't have to pay any baggage fees. And my least favorite thing is I get on a plane to go somewhere I done traveled. I got there, I'm excited, I'm ready to get off the plane, and then I have to go stand in line and wait for baggage claim. I don't like it. So being able to just pick up your backpack and leave and not have to wait in baggage claim is a plus all the way around. So the backpack model worked out for us. Um, Phone service. So I, depending on where in the world you're watching this video from, we reside in Florida. So your phones, our phone service, like our American phone service, did not work in Guatemala. So you have, for us, we had to install a eSIM. You can buy a local SIM when you get there to have service there. I like eSIMs. It works a lot faster and easier. So if you don't know what an eSIM is, essentially it's a virtual SIM card that you can install on your phone, and it will give you service in whatever country you're going to. There's a lot of different companies that offer it. I've tried out two of them. This last time when we went to Guatemala, we used Nomad. And so what Nomad is basically they connect with the cellular service in different countries, and they allow you to tap into that network. Like they have partnership agreements with those cellular services in different countries. And so it allows you to tap into the local network for a fraction of the price. So we paid, I think it was like $40 to have like, I don't remember. I want to say it was like 25 gigabytes of data or something like that, which essentially allows you to be able to have data. And I just install WhatsApp. So I I have WhatsApp, and then I have Google Voice. So Google Voice is if I want to be able to call international numbers, or call numbers that are for people who are maybe not on WhatsApp. So um, if I need to call offices and things like that and they're not on WhatsApp. So Google Voice will allow you, it's a VoIP phone service. It allows you to be able to make phone calls, send text messages and things like that. And as long as you have internet connection, you will be able to make those calls with no problem. Which is why the eSIM it was good for us to have, because then I didn't need to be connected to Wi-Fi all the time. Wherever we were, I had signal, and it worked great all through the country. We had signal. Um and so between Google Voice to be able to call, and then for family and friends, WhatsApp worked out fine. Um and that was good. So essentially for eSIM we used Nomad, and again it was very cost effective. The signal was great. There wasn't one place we went where we didn't have, actually I lied. When we went up to like the to see the volcanoes and stuff, when we were like in certain mountains, we didn't have signal, which is like standard, right? But as far as like day to day, every day, we had signal, no problem. um and then I had Google Voice to be able to continue working and making work calls and stuff like that, and that worked out great. And then WhatsApp, that was great for like being able to exchange numbers with locals, and staying connected with people back home and stuff like that. So that that worked for us. It worked well. Um, if you don't know, in Guatemala they do speak Spanish. The only place where it gets different is in Livingston, where so Livingston, and I'll go deeper into this. But Livingston essentially is where the Garifunas live, and Garifunas, Garifunas are basically the African descents, from who lives are African descendants who live in Guatemala. So that's essentially the chocolate island. Um, and they speak four different languages. They speak English. They speak, I don't, and my husband is better at this than me. I don't recall the exact name of their language, but essentially Garifunas have their own language, and then they speak English, essentially like a Caribbean English, where it's like a patois type of English, and they speak Spanish. Other outside of that, as far as I know, the rest of Guatemala just primarily speak Spanish. Um, and they are Central Standard Time. So if you are traveling there from like Eastern time zone or different time zone, they are Central Standard Time. Um, and so let's get into the good stuff. Like I said, we started out in Guatemala City. Oh, transportation. Before I go there, transportation. They do have Uber there. They have Uber Eats there. They also have so there's the city buses, just like America. There's city buses that goes different parts of the city. Then there's tour buses that think of like what are those big buses over here called that goes from like inner like state to state, like Greyhound. Like they have like their version of Greyhound over there where they go different parts of the country. And then they have tuk-tuks, which is like their version of taxis. Because for example in Livingston, a full-size car, first of all, the only way to Livingston is an actual island. Second of all, the streets are very narrow, so a full size traditional car cannot fit there. So the entire island in Livingston, they primarily use tuk tuks, uh, four by fours, motorcycles, and the only person that I saw there that had a car was the police. Outside of that, there was a few people there that had like trucks and stuff like that, but the majority of people use tuk-tuks, motorcycles, and bicycles and stuff like that. But as far as the country as a whole, tuk-tuk is a very standard way of getting around. They have um regular cars, they have buses, they have, so essentially what I'm saying is you will have no problems getting around in Guatemala. In certain parts, especially like the capital and more established cities, they do have Uber. On, I think Livingston was the only place, and when we went to Rio Dulce, because the part of Rio Dulce where we were, it was on a lake. But even then, they have like boats that take you wherever you want to go. So they have like water taxi boats and whatever, right? So you will have no problems getting around in Guatemala. You can Uber Eats food. They also have their own version of Uber Eats, where you can order food, and so you will have no problem with logistics, is what I'm saying. I do want to warn you that some of um, the tour agencies you have to be careful with. So now I'll use my husband and I as an example. When we booked our travel, we mapped out the logistics for like how we were gonna get to whatever. We um we were initially planning on using Uber when we got to the airport, but when we got there, like a local taxi driver came up and offered to take us to our hotel, and he offered a better rate than Uber. So I was like, cool, no problem. Um, the issue I had with him, and other taxi drivers try to do the same thing. Um, and this was in the city, and this happened again in Antigua, where they will pick you up, and then if they don't know where they're going because they're not using like Google Maps or they're not using any sort of navigation, they will try to tell you, like the taxi driver that picked us up from the airport, he was like, "Oh yeah, we told him we were going to Antigua," and he was like, "Okay, cool, no problem, I know where that is." And then he tried to take us to Antigua and leave us in like the city square, and I was like, "Oh yeah, well you can just walk to your hotel from here." I said, "Sir, no, I am paying you to take me to my hotel. You're going to take me to my hotel." So and I've had we had other taxi drivers that try to do that. Like if they're not using Google Maps or navigation, they try to just leave you in the city square and then tell you to find your place from there. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna Google Maps this. I'm gonna put the address in, and you're gonna take me directly to where I'm going, or I'm not going any place with you. Some of them will try to be slick and tell you yeah, and then after you get in the car, then they try to drop you off in the city square. And I'm like, no. So essentially, what I'm saying is this is also another really good reason why you should have. I would recommend installing Nomad or whatever eSIM company you're going to use and set it up before you leave, because what happens is once you land in that country, well, I'm going to speak for Nomad because that was the one we used. When you land in that country, it will activate the network. Um, so you're not trying to figure it out when you get there. It's better for you. And because for the sake of the GPS thing, it was extremely important that we had that we had connection, because like I said, the taxi drivers try to leave you in the city square, and they're like, yeah, well you can just walk to your hotel from here. No, you're gonna take me to where I'm going, because some hotels are not as close to the city square as they try to make it. So it's better for you if you have on like Google Maps and you put your address in there from point A to point B to where you're going. And plus, for me, it's just a matter of safety, right? When you're using Uber, you don't have to worry about that because Uber works over there just like it does in the States. And the other thing too is Uber over there will even let you pay with cash. I will say to you, if you are planning on, most of Guatemala uses, it's better for you if you have cash because most places over there use cash. Some places don't take cards at all. In some places, if you are using a card, they will try to charge you between 3 to 5% for using a card. So it's better for you if you have cash. The workaround that I found with cash though is instead of taking out cash in the ATM over here in the States and then having to convert money when I get there, I found it better, and I do this every time we're traveling internationally. I find it better to, when you get there, to go to an ATM in that country, like go to one of the national banks and withdraw the money from their ATM. Yes, you will pay an ATM fee there, and yes, you will pay an a fee for using an outside of the network ATM for your bank. Depending on who your bank is, you might be able to get that ATM fee reimbursed. If not, it's okay because the benefit to you is you're not, when you take money out the ATM, it's going to come out in their local currency, meaning that you're not going to have to pay for conversion. Because if you take the money out, for example, if you withdraw money or you go to your bank here in America and then you go over there and then you have to convert it to their money, you end up having to pay for conversion, meaning that you lose some of the currency. But if you take it out in their money, um, it comes out and you don't have to pay for the conversion. So that's just a little tip that I found that worked for us. And I've done that now for every international country we've gone to, and it has worked out beautifully. And plus, you don't have to like travel with all that cash. So for me, it's again another safety tool. Um, Weather. So again, I talked about this earlier. Depending on where you are in Guatemala, it they do have all seasons. They have hot, they have cold, rain, summer, fall, whatever. Guatemala is a lot of mountains, so the temperature do drop at night and it gets a little cooler. With Livingston, it's primarily hot, but Livingston deal with like Caribbean, where you get a lot of rainstorms, and so um primarily every place we went to, we didn't have a problem with like internet connection or signal or things like that. The only place where we had that issue was Livingston. There's times when the water will shut off or the light will shut off, but they're 5, 10 minutes and it's back on. um Thankfully the hotel we were at had like all the backup systems, so every time like the light went out or the water went out, they had their own system that kicked it back on and it was like automatic. So that was good. um Now let's talk about the timeline. So like I said, we started out in Guatemala City. We left Guatemala City. We were supposed to spend the first day in Guatemala City, but I was like, no, I kind of need a moment to kind of transition. So instead of being in the city, just take me to Antigua. Antigua, mountains, beautiful. Um, so many breathtaking views. I loved it there. And so we went straight to Antigua. We spent the first 3 days in Antigua just kind of resetting and transitioning and just kind of slowing down your mind to a different pace. And that worked out well for us. When we were in Antigua, the hotel that we stayed at, it was called Casa Alina. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend a lot of hotels, and that's the other thing. A lot of hotels, they have the big American hotels, the big chains and stuff like that. When I travel internationally, I don't like staying in big chains because usually you'll find a lot of tourists there. I like to stay in the local hotels, because then you get to meet more. I think there's a difference between being a tourist and being a traveler. People who are traveler, they're more about the experience. A tourist is more about the hype. Um, And so I like to stay places where there's more travelers. There's people who, hey, I've been in this country for like 3 months and I'm enjoying it and I'm here for work or I'm this, I'm not. They're not really there for hype. They're there for experience. Um, and I like to be around the local people because that's how you really get an understanding and appreciation for the culture. So there's a lot of hotels in Guatemala where essentially it was someone's house, big behind house, and they divided it into several different rooms and converted it into a hotel. So the first place we stayed at, it was called Casa Alina. The property was essentially what we would call in America a mansion that got converted into several different bedrooms, that she's now renting out as hotel rooms. We had a view, like the room that we stayed in, it had a view. I tried so bad to try to get a photo or a video or something that really like show how beautiful this view was. Not one of them, not one of them, not one of them. We the entire time the view was like a mountain, but it was the mountain views, and you could see the volcanoes from our room, and you could see them like when they erupt or whatever, and it was so beautiful, so beautiful. Not one photo or video um really articulated. The hotel prices are extremely inexpensive. I'm talking anywhere between, on average, 40 to $60 to be in a nice hotel, clean, ran by locals, and very well kept. Like the hotel we stayed at, the Casa Lena place. Like I said, this was a private property that got converted into a hotel. She does run a bread and breakfast, so she cooks. So you're dealing. She has a kitchen and she's cooking home cooked meals for you. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Breakfast was included, but then lunch and dinner you would have to pay for. Um, but for me, it was worth it to kind of just have the local experience, and it was very clean. Like the hotel, I'm telling you, if that hotel was in America, easily $150 a night, easily. But it was $45 a night, and it was literally in the heart of everything. Like we could walk from the hotel to downtown. Tuk-tuks will come and get you. Uber, deliver food, whatever you want. Beautiful experience. Right around the corner from the hotel where we were staying was a tour agency, and they do all types of different tours. I'm gonna put the name of the tour agency in the like somewhere on the bottom of the video or the side or something, because I can't think of the name right now, but they essentially take you to do whatever you want to do. They can take you to see the volcano. They can take you to do coffee tour, chocolate tours, whatever you want to do, city tours, whatever. They do it all. For us, we went four-wheeling with them because we wanted to see the volcano, and so they took us. The package that we got, it was, I think it was like $120. It was like $60 per person. 120, I believe, is what we ended up paying. And it was an hour and a half ride from Antigua to, I can't remember the name of the city right now. I'll put that also in the video or the description or somewhere. Hour and a half to the volcano. They provide the 4x4, they provide the 4x4s, all the equipment, the safety gear. They take you do tour of the city on the four-wheelers, and it leads you all the way to the volcano. We had so much fun with that. It was a beautiful tour. The tour guides were very personable. It was essentially a private tour. It was the two tour guides and me and my husband. That was it. It was like a private tour, and it was a great experience. We enjoyed it. And then they provide lunch and drinks for you, and then hour and a half back ride to where to the to Antigua where we were. Beautiful experience. Had a lot of fun. The tour company was amazing. The guys were great. Like absolutely loved it. Everything about it. So I highly recommend them. Great, great, great people. Um and then what else we did in Antigua? We went to go see Abatanego, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm gonna put the exact name in the bottom of this video. But essentially it's a park that's themed after, it's themed after the Habit, yeah. Oh, it's themed after the Lord of the Rings Habit. Um, but the park itself, first of all, I was not ready. It was only I think it's only like $5 US to go to the park, but To get to this park, we were in Antigua City. You have to we took an Uber from our hotel to the place where the park, to like the park entrance. You go let me back up. When we were planning to go to Guatemala, I was deciding if we would get a rental car or not. And I was like, you know what, I really like, after we planned out the logistics and we saw like the going from city to city, and then Livingston, you can't get there by car, you have to take a boat. I'm like, the rental car is not worth the stress. And I really don't want to be stressed with driving there. I would rather just have a local take me because they know the roads, they understand whatever. So we decided to not do a rental car. I am so glad we decided to not do that, because certain parts of Antigua, certain parts of Guatemala, the mountains are so high and the roads are so narrow and the curves are so steep that if you don't know how to drive that road, easily you can end up in a car accident that is detrimental. Now, when we went to this Abanido Park, we took an Uber to the park entrance. I didn't know, and then like we just booked it, right? Because we literally woke up the morning, was like, what are we doing today? I looked on Google Maps, what's around here, and it said this Abanido Park, and I'm like, okay, cool, this looks good, let's go. We get to the park entrance, and they're like, you have here's your ticket and you have to wait here. They gave us like a number, and they're like, wait here for this transportation number. So the transportation come, and I'm like, oh, I guess it, she said it's going to take you into the park. I didn't know what I was signing up for. We got on the back of this it's like an open back truck. So all the tourists get on the like all the people going into the park, they put you in the back of this open back truck, and they have to take you up the mountains into the park, because the park is literally at the top of a mountain. We get in this thing, and the roads to go back there, first of all, it's not like paved roads, it's not, it's very narrow. And they have worked out such a logistic system with this, that they have people with walkie talkies all going up, like up and down the mountain. And because the mountain is so narrow, like one, like if one is coming down the mountain, they're like, hey, truck coming, don't let nothing up. And if one is going up, they're like, hey, one is coming up, don't let nothing down. So they have like this whole walkie talkie system going on to kind of make the operation smooth. But these hills and these mountains are so high that this it's like you're on a roller coaster in real time. They're like going up the mountain, and I'm looking like, Lord, because the mountains are so high, and we're in the back of this open back truck. So when the truck, like, it's like you're on a slope and you have to literally hold on, because like the thing is like leaning, the truck is like leaning backwards because it's going up a hill, and mind you, you're in the back of this open back truck, so you have to hold on. And then going down the hill is so steep, like the mountains are so steep, that it's like you're going down a roller coaster in real time. It was the funniest thing ever. But I'm gonna tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. If you're one of those, if you're a tourist, not a traveler, if you are a tourist who is all about aesthetics and everything has to be like pristine, and stay where you are. Do not go. Okay. But if you are an adventurer and you are down for the ride, 1,000% you'll enjoy it. 1,000% great experience. Now the park itself, when we got into the park, the views, the sereneness in the park, there's lots of different food, lots of they have a whole village, different foods, different restaurants. You can go, it's not zip lining, I forgot what it's called, where essentially you're like on a rope and you're swinging back and forth. I'll put the video here so you guys can see. um Lots of different things to do, but essentially for me and my husband, it was just a day of relaxation, just to be able to sit there and take in the views of the mountain and meditate on the word of God. The food there was amazing. I think probably um, of all the food that we ate in Guatemala, I enjoyed the food there the most. It was very flavorful, very well seasoned. Not saying like all of the country, all of Guatemala, every place we ate from, the food was very well cooked, very well seasoned. But there, I just really enjoyed the food there. Or maybe it was just because I was more relaxed. I don't know, but I just enjoyed it. Um, but definitely, A great experience, good experience to take kids and stuff like that. It's a great park. But again, the ride is not for the faint of heart. So if you're not about that, if you don't like adventuring, if you're a scary cat, do not go. But if you're all about adventures, go. You're gonna love it. The ride itself, it's amazing. And then we took a taxi back from the park back to our hotel. And this is again where the taxi driver tried to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take you." He was gonna take us, and then we got there, and he tried to drop us off in the city square. And I'm like, "Sir, no, you will not." And then he's like, "Well, if I take you to your hotel, I'm gonna have to charge you more." No, you're not, because I got in your car. I told you where I was going. You told me you were gonna take me there, so you're gonna take me there, and I'm not gonna pay you one penny more, and you're not gonna leave me in some city square. So it's good if you have the navigation system to know where you're going. Um, we went to the market there. The market, loved it. Loved it. I am every time we travel someplace, I the first thing my husband and I do is we go look for the food market. And I'm not talking about like the grocery store. We want to go to the market. What does the local people eat? What is the local fruits and vegetables here? Like we want to experience the local thing. So I loved it there. It, the cost there, like the most we paid for any meal was $15, and $15 was eaten from like a date night kind of restaurant. On average, food is like $3 to $7, and very filling, very good. Um, like you can get fresh juice in the morning, 65 cents. Like very inexpensive, very inexpensive. Like you're sometimes when you travel and you go internationally, you're like, oh, the money conversion is like great. Like, oh, $1 American is like 10 of their dollars. But then it's like the stuff is so expensive that that $10 don't go anyplace. In Guatemala, like that conversion, you really enjoy that conversion because the money goes far. Like your conversion money goes far. Um, it's very inexpensive. So highly recommend, especially if you're traveling with a family, highly recommend. Very inexpensive. Um, very inexpensive. The fruits there, and I sent my family a photo of like all the fruits that I bought there from the market. Like I went back with like a backpack full of stuff, and I'm talking about, I don't know like how whoever's watching this video, like how in tune you are with like different fruits and vegetables. But like if you go to a grocery store here in America and you try to buy, for example, star apple, you're gonna pay like, let more common one, passion fruit. If you go to a grocery store in America and you try to buy passion fruit, you're gonna pay a minimum of $4 per pound, right? And then you're gonna pay between $4 to $10 a pound for passion fruit. Over there, I got so many passion fruits, so many star apples. Like every day I was eating star apple. And I paid like $10, and we had so many fruits and like we had so much fruits that when we were leaving Antigua, I ended up giving some to the hotel host because I'm like, this is a lot. Um and I didn't want to travel with it because we would have to get on a boat, and I was like trying to like not have to lug anything else. A lot. It like your money goes far. That's what I'm gonna say. Your money goes far. But the market was amazing. Every kind of fruits and vegetables and herbs and meat that you could want. If you're gonna like, if we were gonna spend more time in Antigua, I would have gotten a hotel where I can cook. Um, because there was nothing that you could want from the market to get like fresh food that you couldn't find there. Amazing. When we left Antigua, we took a bus from Antigua to Rio Dulce. Now, the most people are gonna tell you, and especially like it's, even online and stuff like that, they're gonna tell you that you have to take a bus and go back to Guatemala City, and then from Guatemala City go to Rio Dulce. We found a tour agency that has a direct route from Antigua to Rio Dulce, and it was like I think we paid $50, like $25 per person. They have different times that they leave. We wanted to be early as possible. So we got on our bus, like we got on the 4 o'clock in the morning bus. The beauty about that was there was nobody else on the bus. We were the only ones on the bus. So the entire bus ride, it was just me and my husband. So it was almost like we got a private transfer um, for $50. It was great, great. I'll also put the name of that agency. They also have a more established one. Um, and I forgot what, baby, what was the name of the last bus that we took? Latigua. That one is like the more established. They have bus stations throughout the country, and they have buses that leave just about every 15 minutes. So you can also just go to a bus station and get on a bus, or you can use a private tour agency. When we went to Rio Dulce, we were staying on our hotel was literally on the lake, so we had to take a water taxi from uh from the boat the boat dock to our hotel. Thankfully, most of the hotels are going to have their own boat that's going to come and pick you up, and take you back to the hotel. Our hotel did. And it was beautiful, great experience. There's no place that we stayed where the people wasn't hospitable, the food wasn't good, like all of it enjoyable. And then they have water taxis that run wherever you want to go. You can go from, they have different restaurants on the water, so you can take a water taxi and go from your hotel to a restaurant, whatever. Great experience. Um, like I said, you will have no problems getting around Guatemala. They have great logistics system. Um, and we stayed in Rio Dulce, I think, for about 3 to 4 days, and then we left. When we were in Rio Dulce, we didn't really do much. It was more relaxation for us. Again, I was working, so had to balance out work and travel. And so it was more like adventuring the market, eating the local food, trying the local things. Um, One highlight for me in Rio Dulce was that they have, in this city square, they have like under, I don't know what to call it, but under, right by the boat dock, under the underpass, they have this like public marketplace where they set up various different people who cook there, and they have chairs and tables out there. You can go there and just get food to eat, and it's like a big community table is what I'm saying. And various different vendors, they're selling food and fruits, mangoes, food, whatever you want. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Great. I loved it. I loved it. Because it's like a big community table where people from all over the community come and sit there and order their food and eat. So it's a great way to meet locals and talk with them, and kind of just see things from their perspective. We were able to, we reserved with one of the local boat captains to take us out fishing. We paid like $60 US for him to take us on a private fishing excursion. Great, enjoyed it. It was I think it was like 4 to 6 hours we spent out there. About 4 hours we spent out there fishing. Great, enjoyed it. And it was great for $60 to have. Here in the U.S., when we're going on a boat, like on a fishing trip, normally you're spending between $65 to $75 for a party fishing boat, where essentially it's like a bunch of different people all on the boat fishing, and you're spending between $65 to $75 here in South Florida. We spend $60 in total, meaning $30 per person for a private boat trip. If you're gonna do a private fishing charter here in South Florida, you're gonna spend between $5 to $1,000 minimum. And then depending on how many people in your party, it starts to get more expensive. So to be able to go on a private fishing charter for $60, great, loved it. Um, and then when we left Rio Dulce, the hotel was able to arrange logistics for us. So they had their boat take us to a bigger boat, who then took us from Rio Dulce to Livingston, and that was $30, I think it was. No, it was $15. $15 for that. We didn't know when they, like, when we like reserved it, that it was actually a whole tour. So they take you from Rio Dulce to Livingston, and they tour you through the water. You get to see the different wild animals there, like the bird and the habitats and the preservation. Then they stopped at a restaurant on the water. We stopped during 8, and then continued on to our journey to Livingston. Great experience. Is a great way to learn more about the culture, the area, their wildlife there. And like, it was $15 in total for me and my husband, $7 a person. And it was about an hour ride from Rio Dulce to Livingston. With the boat tour, it ended up being like, I think, an hour 45, 2 hours. But great experience, highly recommended. And then when we got to Livingston, Livingston, there's not a whole lot to do in Livingston. The reason we wanted to go to Livingston was because we love fishing, and Livingston is like the Caribbean there. It's where the salt water is. So when we got to Livingston, our hotel was a bungalow on the beach, like literally on the beach. And it was only $45 a night. And I'm talking about we were on the beach, not by the beach, on the beach. Um, and all of the hotels we stayed at, they had restaurants there. They cook for you, order whatever you want. Great, and they cook great food. The prices were about, if you're ordering from the restaurant there on site from the hotels, they're about $15. If you go and order food from the locals or you go to a street vendor, you're spending between $3 to $7. Um, Great. And in Livingston as well, we had a boat captain take us out fishing. Now, I'll tell you, when we went fishing in Rio Dulce, we didn't really catch much, and it was primarily because we didn't have fresh water set up. Because we were planning to go in saltwater, but we were like, since we're here, let's test it out. We didn't really catch anything there, because we didn't have the right setup. But when we got to Livingston and we went fishing there, the moment we dropped our rod in that water, them fishes went. We filled up in like 2 hours. We filled up like two big buckets full of fishes, gave them all away, had a ball. I had so much fun. I was supposed to be recording content of us fishing. I was like, they're just gonna have to take my word for it. We went fishing and we caught these fishes because I'm not putting down this rod. I mean, as soon as I dropped that water in, they kept coming and yeah, them fishes they kept coming, and I'm like, listen, I'm not, I don't have no time with no content. I sat there and fished, and I enjoyed it so much. We ended up giving away all the fishes. We gave some to the people at the hotel. We gave some to the boat captain. But great experience. Highly recommend. And that as well, we paid $70, $70 US. So essentially $35 per person. And it was a private boat. Great experience. We loved it. We enjoyed it. The captain was very accommodating. I'll put his information in the description as well. But overall, great experience. And then, like I said, we were supposed to leave Livingston and go to Lake Aten, but when we got to Livingston, we was like, "This is it. We're ocean people. We ain't going back to the lake. This is it." So we ended up staying there, and then we left Livingston and went back to Guatemala City the day before we were supposed to fly out. Now, this was the only hiccup that we had in the trip. The the bus that I booked to go back to Guatemala City was a different tour agency than the one I booked with when I left Antigua to go to Rio Dulce. This company, they're not a legitimate tour agency, and I'm gonna put their name there so you guys can be aware of them. Essentially, what they were trying to do, or what they did, was I booked the bus with them, but what they were trying to do was they were taking my money and then going to the big bus company, which is Latigua, something like that, and buy my ticket from them. Latigua, I think is how it's pronounced. They do not work with any tour agencies. They want you to go to the bus station and buy the ticket from them. Yeah, the ticket is not expensive. It's the same. I think it's like $30 a person, $25 is not expensive. The bus is clean, it has Wi-Fi, everything, like the whole nine. But what they did was took my money, then went to the bus company and then tried to buy my ticket. I didn't know I was green to this. So when we got to the bus thing, and I'm texting the lady, I'm like, hey, what's the address? Where's the bus meeting and all this stuff? And she kept telling me, I'm gonna send it to you in a minute. I'll send it to you. Mind you, our bus was supposed to leave at 11 o'clock. This is like 10:30, and our boat had dropped us off at like 9:30, and she still hadn't given me the address. Then like 5 minutes before, she gonna send me some address talking about, oh, you go to the Antigua bus station and the bus is gonna pick you up from there. We got on the bus thinking that it was that bus, and it wasn't that bus. And then I found out that it was the Latigua bus. It was actually a Latigua bus that she had bought the ticket for. So essentially, she would like go buy their ticket and sell it to me at a mock-up. The problem was they will not let you on the bus because they want to see the physical paper receipt that you bought the ticket from them. And then she tried to tell me she's not going to refund me. So I had to end up contacting my bank to file a dispute to get my money back for that. And then having to go to Antigua and buying a bus ticket. Um, the bus we ended up getting on was a wrong bus. It was a local bus that only go from like Rio Dulce to like another city. I don't remember the name of that city either. Um, and then the bus driver was able to like drop us off in front of a Antigua bus station and have us get on a Antigua bus to go back to Guatemala City. That was like the only hiccup that we have. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're buying bus tickets, make sure that you're dealing with a real agency. I would recommend just using Antigua. Their bus is great. It's clean. It has Wi-Fi, very comfortable seats. Um, and they have bus stations throughout the country. They buses leave every 15 minutes. I'll put the information there. And yeah, then we got back to Guatemala City. We spent the night in Guatemala City, and then we flew back out. The hotel we stayed at was like um 3 minutes from the airport. So that was also great. But overall, all in all, great experience. Highly recommend Guatemala. Um, Especially if you're traveling with family and stuff like that. It's very cost effective. So you can take your family, your kids on a great family trip and not break the bank, and you'll have great experience. Guatemala, literally, I love it. I love it. And in fact, I'm trying to find my next work assignment to take me back there. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it's helpful for you in your preparation to Guatemala. And even if you decide to not go to Guatemala, I hope you decide to go somewhere, because the world is a beautiful place. So do live it and enjoy it.